Okay, so today I'm going to do a rare actual painting lesson. Usually I just kind of have you guys visit with me while I paint, but this is a technique that took me quite a number of paintings to get the hang of, and it's been a while since I've done it, so hopefully it'll just come right back. And that is painting the Aurora Borealis in acrylic. I'm starting with a black canvas because I happen to have this and I was in the mood to do it. A lot of times I paint this over with a, a rathine blue, which is kind of a rich midnight blue, and that makes for a pretty background on it. We'll just go ahead and leave it black for today. Now, I'm going to be standing up a lot to do this, so I don't know if my head will be cut off at those times. Clear gesso is your friend in this one. There are other painting mediums, but this is the one that works the best for me. You can just use water. Water seems to evaporate a little faster though. This seems to give me more blending time. So we're going to start with that. Now, one of the main concepts I think in acrylic painting when you have blending areas is don't do what you do in oils and cover the whole canvas because you're not going to get it painted in enough time. Think of it more in sections. Oh, wait a second. So, and with the Aurora Borealis, I'm sorry, my cat's being a little bit distracting right now. With the Aurora Borealis, there are a lot of variations. It's almost like trees, whereas if you just paint it with the basic concept, there'll be one somewhere that looks like that. And the other thing we want to do is, if you think of it, I'm going to do one that's more in curtains, and you have to think of it more as the back curtains. So we're going to do the back ones, and then we're going to come forward, and that'll give us a chance to layer it. So we're not going to cover the whole canvas. We're just going to do the section we're going to start with, which I'm going to start up here. And this is just going to be a little background one. So I'll try and intersperse this with tips as I think of them. One being, every time you do this, try and go up as far as possible because you're going to want to fade upwards. Now this is going to be a green one, which is quite common. Another thing you want to look for is you want this first layer to be a transparent, or as transparent as you can find in acrylics paint. You want this to still look fairly black. It's okay that it won't look completely black, but you want it to still look, quite a bit black. Now this is phthalo green blue shade as opposed to green shade. We're just going to paint a little bit here. So you can actually see this green. One thing to note about the clear gesso is that it looks a little whitish when it goes on. It will dry clear, so don't let that distract you. So we put that on. Then you have to work quickly. It's acrylic, so we work fast. We're going to get a little cad yellow, which is opaque, and a little bit more white. I'll take a smaller brush and get those. And this is where you're going to kind of get this in here. Just get some kind of brighter base color. And before that dries, you grab a brush, and just blend it. Like I said, and the only trick about this is just doing a small section and doing it fast. That's it. And just let the shapes go a little bit freeform. They're all going to be different. I like a lot of yellow in this. But that works better. If you try and just put a light green on there, it's not going to look right. You want a little bit of that dark green still there. Now the next thing we're going to do is do maybe sort of a background one. The other advantage to the clear gesso is it kind of lets you, this one's almost empty, so it's a little more challenging getting it out of there. I'll turn it upside down. There we go. Oh, no, that's my clear. Oh, the clear gesso, the other advantage of this is that it's going to help you sort of, shall we say, sketch these in where you want them. And this is, all I'm doing on this session is kind of showing you the technique. I'm not actually going to paint a finished painting. I'm just going to show you how I do this. Because, like I said, it took me quite a bit of trial and error there. Now for this one, we're going to go in layers. And as it goes up, it's going to turn purple. And we're going to have some magenta. And then again, the green. And for that, let me see what brushes I have. I want to leave at least one clear for blending it and one for the gesso. So you need, I must say, for this to work, you need a fair number of brushes there. You're not going to be able to do this without having a lot of brushes on hand. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. So first we're going to do some purple here. And kind of think of it in if you sew, kind of think of it as folds of a cloth. You know, they call it curtains of light, and that's pretty much what it is. Okay, and then I'm coming back through with magenta after the purple. And then again, a little bit of this green, just a little bit. And the other thing, which I don't know if it's counterintuitive for anybody else, but you surprisingly do not want to make this overly dark. You want to keep it fairly light, especially in the background here. We'll get a little bit of this yellow. We'll just sip that up there. You can even go across a little, just slightly, just to blend that, just a little bit. You see it's already looking pretty good there. Now a lot of times on these things you have sort of a focal point, a really bright part of it. So it'll kind of zip around here. So this is going to be in the back and it kind of comes around. So we're going to go ahead and get some more clear gesso and kind of try and do this front of this a bit. Now there's a brush here, so let's try and get that out of there while we can. There we go. I won't say you can't go wrong with this, but your basic concept is to work fairly quickly and don't play around with it too long, because this paint is drying as you're working with it, and it's not going to flow up like that forever. So you want to kind of keep it. So this we want to kind of maybe come around here with these curtains. And you want the curtains, you want the dark paint to be slightly lower than what the bright is, so that you have a little bit of the brighter paint. You have just a little bit of the darker paint, that'll fuzz it out a little bit. If you put the bright way at the bottom, it's going to be too much of a demarcation. Right now, we're going to go ahead and go right over this one, because you want to go up as much as you can with this clear gesso. You're going to want to blend it upward, blend the one curtain into the other. But I was not organized nearly enough to do this, but one thing would have been to just go ahead and do a background layer, let that dry, you know, kind of show it in stages. But we're just going to go ahead all at once. Okay, and then we're going to, that may have been a little too ambitious. I probably should have done that a little bit in smaller doses. Now we're going to do similar to what we did on this one, and do some that are up high first. And some that are lower here. More magenta. As you see, this is fairly a quick process, so it's going to be kind of like blink and you missed it on this thing. So I apologize if you come in late, but the video will be available. All right, then I think we're going to go ahead and bring this up while we can. You can see over here that that is now no longer white. That's because that clear gesso has dried. I don't know if they do that on purpose so that you can see when it's dried. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but that's the effect. So we're going to just bring this green down here so that it's kind of green beneath it. There's always a super bright area. Maybe that'll be this one. And then let's see, what do we want here? Go ahead and grab a little bit of white here. You want it varied. You don't want it all the same degree of brightness. Like I said, it kind of comes in waves. Like if you think of it like a cloth, a wavy cloth, where the front part is a little wavier, a little brighter in the front. And then as the cloth recedes, it gets darker in shadow. That's sort of how these look. That's why they are aptly named curtains. All right. Grab that a little bit. And I said the main thing is you got to keep working it. Keep working quickly. If you let it dry, it's not going to blend. And we want to quickly get this yellow in here. And you can now after it dries. You can come back into it. Surprisingly enough, you can. You can come back into this and brighten up certain areas as you want to do that. And we're just going to give it a little initial swipe with that, then come back in with any of these really. We'll do this one. And see, that's pretty much it. It looks a lot more complex than what it is when it's finished, which is what you want. And that's pretty much it there. So now what we can do is then this bottom curtain, a lot of times, that's going to have a little bit brighter area. Just here and there. So I'm going to grab some white and some yellow. And then maybe make another little curtain like here. Like that curtain's above that curtain. And just do them one at a time as you do each one. It's my blending brush, this one I think. Blend it, try and come straight up of course. Now that was not really what I meant to do. See, so if you do that, just do what I'm doing here. If you get it too low, just paint some dark on it. It's not a big deal. And let's see. And for this bottom row, I'm kind of coming the other way. I'm just doing the dark, kind of dragging that down a bit. And then let's see, you can do all kinds of stuff here. You can pick something out and say, oh, I want that one to be brighter, right there. And see, it's just blending. It's still blending in there. It still has enough oomph to blend. It won't be that way forever, so you want to take advantage while you can. But if you get all the way done and you want to change it, just let it dry. Come back in with the clear gesso, go over it again. I said, not a big deal. And see, this curtain looks a little straight to me. I kind of wish I would have given it a little bit more undulation. So let's get some dark in there. Maybe take some of this out so that it's a little bit more, has a little more variety to that edge. Then as far as what to do with it after, there are so many things you can do. You can add a moon if you have a slot for a moon. You can put a lake beneath this. But of course the next thing we're going to do, and this may not show up as well with this, is I did want to show you how to do the stars. So almost done. Now to do the stars, this is a great technique. And I usually do this outside because it can be a little messy. You need a painting knife. And for some reason, I like this one. This is a Bob Ross painting knife. And this one seems to work the best for me. You can use a fan brush, but I usually use a toothbrush. And you know, you get those extra toothbrushes from the dentist. Now, for this to work, one trick for this is you want thinner paint. You don't want real thick, gloppy paint. So we have, this is soft body titanium white. And you get a good amount in there. Don't fill the toothbrush, but kind of swirl it around in the paint. So you see it's not globby. And then you just take your knife, you take this and push away from you. And I did do it the wrong time way before, did it towards me, covered in stars myself. You just push that. And the closer you get, the more concentrated they're going to get. But what this does is this gives it a nice random look. You know, even if you're willing to sit there and paint in each star, you're going to do it too symmetrically. You know, your brain is just going to work that way. Whereas this is just going to randomly do it. Some of them are going to glob. That's okay. Don't worry about that. I'll show you what we're going to do about that later. The dark area of the sky is probably going to be a little bit more concentrated with stars. And see those stars, that's kind of like the finishing touch you need for this illusion. And all painting is illusion to some degree. There again, you don't want to overdo this, but if you do that, there you go. And then lastly, and this might be a little harder to show you with the paint wet. This is something I usually do when it's dry. But you can get some stars that are a little bit more glowing than others. So let's try a really soft brush for this. So if you get any one of the colors, in this case, let's do the magenta. This is a fairly thick glob here, so I'm going to use that one. So if you go through and kind of create these little glowing ones, you can do a few stars by hand. And then if it starts looking funny, just blend it out a little bit. And then for that, you could go through and I'm going to try this stick here to put one in there. Why not? Put a bigger one in there where like a little glow. And you can do that wherever, you know, wherever you feel it needs one. Put in a little glowy star. If you get like this is kind of a glob, if you get a glob. And this better, if you let this set, which I'm not doing because then I couldn't show you. If you let it set, then do that. The white will show through. And then that creates more of that glow look. And of course, you can't, don't do too much on it because you can't really blend it when it's wet like this. You have to wait to some degree. But see, you can do a little bit. See what I'm doing here? You can do a little bit even as it's drying. But you don't want to do too much or you're going to lose all these curtains. And that might be all we can do for the moment. I could probably do like some green glowy ones here because this is probably pretty dry here. So let me try that while I can. If you take and then just put like a little glob, a little glowy glob here and there. And then you can put a little star in each one of those. Well, that looks like about it, really. I'd probably put some more of these magenta ones in, but I said I don't want to do that until these stars dry now because then I'll just smear all the stars. And then underneath here, I said if this were a bigger canvas, you could reflect these in water below using basically the same technique. You can do a mountain range, a mountain lake. You can do something up in the stars. I'll probably be in me when this dries. I'll probably add a moon right there. and do something with this. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this background yet. Sometimes I just sit and stare at them for a while. But you actually, people have asked me this, can you see the moon on if there's an Aurora Borealis? Yes, you can. If you look at different photos of the Aurora Borealis, you do see them with full moons. If the moon is behind this curtain, though, then you're going to want to cover it with the color because it's in front of the moon. But if you've got a clear spot of sky like that is, looking for a brush, I'm going to put that in there right now. I think we might put a little moon in there now. I want to put a glow around it though. I'm going to put the moon in first. So I'm thinking right here we could put a nice moon. And then I'll probably get some blue and kind of make a glow around that moon. Kind of soften the edges a little bit. But this should be enough of the technique to get you started. I hope so. Some blue here. Come around here. And if you have any questions, you can let me know either on my various social media or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave me a comment. And all these, oh, the clear gesso. If you're unfamiliar with that, you can get that anywhere. You can get that at Michael's and use a coupon. It's not an exotic thing. It's a little bit of a moon glow there. I need some. I don't think I brought any water out here. All right, I think that's enough to get you started on the concepts. And I'm going to leave off here now. I hope that was instructive and informative.